Hello everyone, to the land they once called home. When their new life begins, what will they face first in their hometown? Will it be the weight of old memories, or the embrace of familiar voices? Will the soil they step on feel like healing or like another test of their strength? As the sun rises over the quiet fields and Maya's laughter softly fills the morning air, a new chapter begins, fragile, uncertain, but full of hope. Let's walk with them as they take their first steps into this unknown future, holding on to love and to each other. A new beginning in the rain. The morning sky was still heavy with rain clouds when Huyen gently tightened Maya's scarf and turned to the kind woman they had stayed with for the night. "Auntie, it's time for us to leave now," she said softly, her voice thick with gratitude and a touch of sorrow. They had stayed only a night, but it felt like leaving a family member behind. The old woman had opened her heart and her home, and now, as they stood by the door with their bags packed, there was a bittersweet pause in the air. "If we have a chance," Huyen continued, "we'll come back to visit you and Uncle." She bowed slightly. "Our hometown is still far, so we need to leave early. Please take care of your H." Adam had stayed behind, and that too left a shadow in their hearts. "Sometimes, please keep in touch with Adam, so he won't feel lonely," Dee added, a quiet look of concern in his eyes. Maya clutched her mother's hand, turned to the woman she now called Grandma, and said with a smile, "Goodbye, Grandma. I'm going now." The motorbike taxi arrived as the first drops of a new rain fell. The road ahead was long, and the price negotiation was brief. They loaded their belongings and Maya dozed off again in Huyen's arms. The journey back to the countryside was quiet, except for the soft hum of the engine and the beating of hearts longing for home. When they arrived at Dee's old house, everything felt still. The key was hard to turn, the door creaked, and the smell of mold lingered in the air. The garden was flooded from the storm. The place looked tired, like it had been waiting too long for them to return. "I never thought I'd come back here again," Huyen whispered as she stepped inside. Her voice trembled, "but in the end, I chose to return. With you." Dee looked at her gently. "This house has always been waiting for you. Now that you're here, it feels warm again." They cleaned together. Maya, full of curiosity and joy, wiped dusty shelves while Babi, their loyal dog, explored every corner of the yard. Outside, the rain didn't stop, but inside, something stirred, something hopeful. "I'll grow vegetables here again," Dee said. "We'll plant corn, cabbage, maybe raise chickens. I want to give you two a peaceful life." Huyen smiled, tired but content. "Even if the road ahead is long, as long as I have Maya and you, I'm already happy." That night, they ate a simple meal under the eaves, listening to the gentle rain and sharing warm rice, stewed fish, and laughter. Maya, ever curious, asked about Grandma Sam and promised to take care of a baby someday. Huyen and Dee exchanged a glance, one of quiet love and deep gratitude. "This is happiness," Dee said softly. "Having you and Maya by my side. This is what a real family feels like." Later, Maya stood on tiptoes and whispered, "Can we go look at the moon after dinner?" And under the same sky that once held only storms, the three of them stepped outside, hand in hand. toward the moonlight and the life they would now begin again. A quiet life begins again. The next morning, the sun peeked through the clouds for the first time in days. Dew sparkled on the tips of the banana leaves in the garden, and the muddy water began to recede little by little. Maya sat on the front step, hugging her knees, watching Baby chase after a butterfly. Her small laugh echoed through the stillness. Huyen stood just behind her, a broom in one hand, the other resting gently on the doorframe. "Mommy," Maya said, turning around, "can I go to school tomorrow?" Huyen smiled softly. "Yes, sweetheart. Tomorrow I'll go ask the teacher. You'll have your books and a backpack, just like before." Inside the house, Dee was repairing a broken wooden shelf, wiping off layers of dust and setting things straight again quietly, methodically. He glanced up at the sound of Maya's voice and smiled to himself. Everything felt fragile, yet beautiful, like a new sprout pushing through wet soil. Later that morning, Dee returned from the market with a small bag of seeds, a bundle of fresh vegetables, and a bottle of milk for Maya. "They're selling loofah vines and morning glory," he said, placing the goods on the clean table. "We can grow a trellis along the fence. I'll fix that fence first thing tomorrow." They boiled some corn, sliced the watermelon, and ate together under the old jackfruit tree in the backyard. The air smelled of wet earth and new beginnings. That evening, as Maya practiced writing letters in the dirt with a stick, Huyen sat quietly beside her, hands still stained from scrubbing old pots by the pond. She looked at Dee, who was mending the storm-damaged fence at the edge of the garden. "I was afraid to come back," she whispered. Dee didn't look up, but his voice was steady. "Me too. But sometimes, coming back is the bravest thing we can do." Huyen's eyes filled with quiet tears. "I want Maya to have everything I didn't. And she will," Dee said. "We'll build it all together." That night, after Maya had fallen asleep curled up next to Baby, Dee and Huyen sat outside on the small bamboo bench. The sky was finally clear. Stars glimmered above like promises too long forgotten. "You know," Huyen said softly, for the first time in a long time, "I'm not scared of tomorrow." Dee reached over and gently held her hand. "Neither am I." And in that moment beneath the calm sky, with the cicadas humming and the scent of damp soil in the air, they realized they didn't need a perfect life. They just needed each other. When their new life begins, what will Huyen, Dee, and Maya face first in their hometown? As Huyen, Dee, and Maya settle into their quiet home in the countryside, the first thing they must face is the reality of starting over, not just with their hands, but with their hearts. The house, though familiar, feels aged and weary after months of being left empty. Dust clings to the walls, the garden is flooded from the recent storm, and the wooden fence has collapsed in several places. Rebuilding their home becomes their first task, physically cleaning, repairing, and reclaiming the space as their own. For Dee, it's a labor of love. For Huyen, it's a symbol of returning to a place she never thought she'd see again. Next, they must adjust to the emotional weight of returning. For Huyen, being back brings back memories, some warm, others painful. She quietly wrestles with guilt, fears of the past repeating, and doubts about whether she made the right decision. Dee does his best to reassure her, offering patience and support without asking for anything in return. For Maya, the challenge is more innocent. Returning to school, she's eager but nervous, wondering if her friends will still remember her, if her new backpack will be nice enough, or if her teacher will welcome her back. Huyen, determined to give Maya a normal life, must find the strength to face the school again, speak to the teacher, and ask for a place for her daughter. Then there's the financial reality. Life in the countryside is peaceful but not easy. Dee begins planning how to make the land fruitful again, growing vegetables, raising chickens, selling at the market. Huyen offers to help him with planting, cooking, and even thinking of small things she can sell. Every small step counts. Though their days begin with sweat and end in quiet exhaustion, hope quietly blossoms. Together, they laugh at Maya's silly questions, share meals under the open sky, and slowly make the house feel like home again. They don't yet know what hardships may come next, but in this beginning, they face everything with love, unity, and a belief that this time their peace might last. A lesson about starting over and the meaning of home. Life doesn't always follow the path we planned. Sometimes it takes us through pain, uncertainty, and long, winding roads. But in those quiet, unexpected turns, we often find the truest lessons, ones that reshape who we are and what we value. From the journey of Huyen, Dee, and little Maya, we learn a powerful truth. Starting over is not a sign of failure, but an act of courage. After everything they endured, fear, loss, and separation, they made the brave decision to return to a place that held both memories and hope. The house they came back to wasn't perfect. It was dusty, flooded, and worn down by time. But it was theirs, and slowly, with loving hands and open hearts, they began to rebuild not just the walls of their home, but the foundation of a peaceful life. Huyen teaches us that even with a heavy past, we can still choose to face the future with strength and kindness. Dee reminds us that love doesn't need grand gestures, it shows itself in the quiet moments. A bowl of warm rice, a repaired fence, or a gentle word when someone feels lost. And Maya, with her innocence and joy, reminds us that children give us hope not only for tomorrow but for the person we still have the chance to become. The biggest lesson of all is this: home is not simply a place, it is the people who make us feel safe, accepted, and loved. No matter how far we wander or how broken we may feel, we can always find our way back when love leads the way. In the end, life is not about escaping hardship, but about facing it with those we love and choosing, again and again, to begin anew. Continuing the lesson, the power of ordinary moments. As the days pass in their quiet village, Huyen, Dee, and Maya slowly build something precious, not just a life, but a rhythm. Their days are filled with simple routines: planting seeds in the morning, cleaning dusty shelves, cooking warm meals, and listening to Maya's cheerful stories about school. These moments may seem ordinary to others, but for them, they are a miracle. From them, we learn another powerful truth: peace does not arrive all at once. It grows silently through small, gentle acts. It grows when someone carries a child who's too tired to walk, It grows when a man fixes a broken fence not just to protect a garden, but to protect his family. It grows when a mother, despite her own pain, smiles and encourages her daughter to chase dreams bigger than her own. And it grows when people, broken by life, still choose love over fear, kindness over bitterness. Their story also reminds us of something we often forget. Healing takes time. There are nights when memories return like waves, flooding the heart with doubt or sadness. But each morning is a new chance to try again, to forgive a little more, and to believe that tomorrow will be brighter.